Hello everyone, my name is Nicole Garcia. I'm a graduate student in the Curriculum and Instruction Department in Kent State. My research interest along the years has been learning about how to make the best environment possible for multicultural and multilingual students, given that their school experience and experience with curriculum has to do a lot with, in order for them to connect and align, has to do a lot with their culture and language and how this is so interconnected with the students' identity. So I do want to share with you guys what I have learned. Um, and even though it says a lot in the literature and the writing, like it is a fact that increasingly in the United States, teachers are like female and white. This is the majority, and the students are becoming more diverse culturally and linguistically. This is not necessarily an obstacle. It can be, but while working together, we can improve their experience, and this is not necessarily a disadvantage, but we have to work hard to close the gap within our culture and our students' culture. Me myself, I'm from Costa Rica, so if I'm working in the United States with students that speak Spanish, that will be a super advantage, but that will not be the case with all students. There are a lot of Nepali students, Chinese students, students that speak Arabic, and I cannot learn all of these languages, but I can learn how to use their language and their background to improve their learning. So I'm excited. Let's talk about this. Okay, so this slide sounded better in my head before knowing that I would have to talk about this, but let's try. So, how many of you know how to work a screwdriver? I think I can get my way around a screwdriver, but that doesn't mean I know how it works. If you ask me how that works, I have no idea. I don't know the senses of metallurgy or torque physics. I cannot build a screwdriver of my own, but I can still use it and I know how it functions. So this is my allegory or metaphor that we don't have to speak the language. We don't have to know all of the culture of our students in order to work alongside with them, but we can learn how to use it, and they will teach us about it. So basically, like we were saying before, just like these kind of tools, or think about whatever tool works for you for this metaphor, we do not have to be a language expert to help our student incorporate their language and culture into their learning. And the United States classrooms are often monolingual, and so are most of the teachers. If we include multicultural resources with our multicultural and multilingual students, this is a bridge to improve their learning, sense of identity, and belonging, because all of this comes together. So you might have heard about this learning approach before called translanguaging. This is an amazing tool that makes us put aside all the conceptions we have about language, and the languages are these kind of entities we have separated in our head, in our mind, and it doesn't view language as systems of a bilingual speaker as distinct, but as a part of a single interconnected system. So it makes us think about a language repertoire, like I think about it as a big cloud when we think, and we pick out when we're talking through the same cloud. So it's not like we turn off our brains for the other language we speak. It's always there, it's always working together. So if we limit the language of our students, we're telling to turn off part of their knowledge. Of course, this has to be used strategically and not in a messy way, like mix languages and try to explain to me well mixing languages, but this can be a very cool strategy that, well planned, it can really assist the students. And what does this mean for teachers? Teachers can publicly value student models of translanguaging by highlighting students' use of multiple languages when speaking or writing. So I want to share with you that I've been working with some pre-service teachers, and we're trying to discuss, like, given the scenario, hypothetical that this happens, that you have multilingual and multicultural students, and their parents want to reach out to you and they want to talk to you. And usually the schools will have interpreters, but not all the time. Usually they are like by appointment. So we've been trying to experiment with translation apps, Google Translate, what's the other one? Microsoft. And it's messy, like the translations are not accurate, and also pre-service teachers feel in a very like vulnerable place because everyone's watching and you're just like talking into your phone, and then you do not understand the language that is reproducing. So this is a very challenging place to put yourself in, but I think this can be very valuable for the families because they see, not necessarily using the translation apps, but just trying in any way, and families can see these as the fact that you care and you're trying to meet halfway in terms of communication. So I have these 3 questions for you. I wish I was able to hear your opinions on this. I'm very curious, but let's take a look. So you can, if you're in a setting when you're like with peers, you can share and talk about this. If you're by yourself, you can write about it and then kind of reflect on your answers. But please talk about, first, what challenges do you face when teaching in a multilingual context? What does it mean for you that students use their full linguistic repertoire to learn? And what does it mean to you to be a teacher that honors their students' identity and belonging through language? So this first strategy for translanguaging is extremely simple and easy, but it goes a long way. So students already mix their languages with friends and family. They like what we commonly know or popularly know as code switch. So this is normal to them, and this is part of their culture and identity. They're used to doing this. This is a way to interact and learn from their friends and family and construct meaning together, so they can relate easily to the use of their cultures and languages for their daily life. When schools and teachers ignore this or maybe even prohibit this dynamics, it can create tensions between their identities, where their home language does not belong here, or they can feel like part of them is not welcomed. And this is like implicitly learned, and this is how they might make sense of these situations, and it does happen a lot. So translanguaging can be as simple as recognizing and learning about your students' identities. So this is a mini workshop within this mini lesson, where you can create a scrapbook where you document what you learn about your students' culture and language. You can include a glossary to learn some of the words and corroborate information with your student, and let the student teach you about their culture, and then you're also learning, and then again they see that you care and you learn new vocabulary and you construct a relationship with the student. So this is another strategy that you can play with depending on your content area and the vocabulary in your content area, which is using cognates to learn. What is a cognate? So a cognate is when 2 terms or more in different languages, they look similar and they actually have a similar meaning. There's a Spanish example with math cognates. Angle, or in Spanish, el ángulo, which is very similar, maybe not in pronunciation, but if the students see this side to side, they can start to make connections. However, do know that there is something called false cognates when words in different languages sound the same or very similar, and I do mean very opposite things. For example, in English, there's the word embarrassed, like you feel embarrassed, but in Spanish, embarazada, which is very similar, means pregnant. So yeah, just be mindful that there are false cognates out there, but you can do your research. We have access to all of this information. So this can be a tool to bring other languages into a lesson and make cross-linguistic connections, and this can help students with familiarity and associate things that they actually already know. Cognates help leverage what students already know. It decodes English words and help understand academic vocabulary in both languages. We have this term of emergent bilinguals, which you have probably heard already, which means that these students, they are parallelly learning from both languages and building together this full language repertoire that they have. So our next step to start to get familiar with a translanguaging territory is think about your content area. Are there any cognates you can think of, or that you can look that are in your heritage students' languages? There might not be, but it's worth looking this up. And if there are cognates, how can you incorporate them in your lessons and classrooms? What would you do? So what are some takeaways we can think about? Students already have the tools. They bring language, culture, and identity into the classroom. But unfortunately, sometimes this is being suppressed by monocultural or English-only instruction. Translanguaging help us recognize and use those tools, even though we do not understand how the tool screwdriver works, but we know how to, work it. You don't need to be bilingual to support multilingual students. And small shifts in practice can lead to big changes in belonging. So yeah, don't think that immediately you have to become this language expert, because that is not part of what you're required or part of what you have to do. But these small changes and small efforts can go a long way.